Alright, so that should fix it. I think it's working now. Check, check. That should be good. Give it a minute. And hold on. I'm gonna close these windows too. Yep, it takes a little bit for everything to catch up, so I'm sorry if you guys let me know that there's no sound. Yay, you can hear, okay. Good. Yep, it just took a little bit of adjusting. Aw, thanks guys. Let me know if the volume level's okay. I adjusted it from last time. So we should be good to go. Okay. If you guys have any questions while we go, just let me know. But we are gonna go ahead and get started. So I have all of my stuff here off to the side and various sides. And today we're going to be making buff titanium, which is a color that I've never made on a live stream before. Let me set you guys up so I can see everything. That should work. Okay. So we're going to be making buff titanium today, and I'm excited. And okay, so to be careful while I'm wearing my apron, and I have my mask here just to keep pigment dust out of my face. So it's going to be a little weird because for a few minutes I'm going to have this mask on while I'm in the dust stages of the pigment. This one doesn't float. This is a pretty heavy pigment, so I'm not going to keep my mask on the entire time because I want to talk to you guys. So what I'm going to do is I'll put my mask on, and then I will mix the pigment into the binder, and then I'll take my mask off so we can chat some more, just so everybody knows. Yeah, buff titanium is a great color to mull. It's super easy. So I have everything here. I have my measuring spoons, I have my palette knives, I've got some fresh water, I've got my towel, my binder. I need a brush, so I need paintbrush. Let's see. We'll use the same one I used last time. This little Paul Rubens brush. Okay, so little brush. We've got our sketchbook handy, and we're good to go. This one's going to be really simple. I wanted to choose an easy color for the first one, so I'm going to put this mask on, and we're going to get started. I'm so excited. Let me bring you guys in a little bit closer so that you can see all the good bits. Excuse me while I adjust you here. How about somewhere like there? Does that look good? Something like that for you guys, okay? Nice and close, and I'm sorry that now the camera's right in front of the webcam, but that's okay. It won't be there forever. We'll just do that for a few minutes so everybody can see. Okay? And then I'm going to adjust this so I can adjust the exposure so it's not too bright. There we go. Okay. I'm going to put my mask on now. Okay? You're fragile. I won't drop you, I promise. I've been making my own paints. I don't know, it sounds a little weird. I've been making my own paints for about a year and a half. Hello, I'm still here. This is a really easy color. I'm gonna do a big batch. I'm actually running low on this binder, or this pigment. I'm sad. I'm gonna have to get some more before I can make another batch. So I know I want a bigger batch of this. So I'm kind of going to do as much of this as I can right now. So I'm just measuring in tablespoons, which isn't as exact as if you were measuring by weight, but for now this is what I'm doing. So there's 2. I wonder if I can get a 3rd tablespoon out of this. I'm so sad that I'm almost out of this. I hope that doesn't sound like really annoying. How about we just dump it all? Oops, there goes my glasses. No glasses, I'm not mulling you. How about we just dump it all and see how much I can get? I'm not sure how long the stream is going to be. I usually like to hang out with you guys for like an hour. So it looks like 3, right? 3 tablespoons plus a little. Oh, that's it. That's all of my buff titanium pigment. Oh my goodness, I'm going to have to order some more. This is from earthpigments.com. Most of their earthier pigments I absolutely love. It's so great. Some of their more like primary colors are not, I prefer to do, some of their primary pigments I prefer to do like creamer pigments. But for their earthier colors like this one, I like this. And yes, this will be saved for later, so if you can't stay for the live stream or if people are missing it right now, you can still hang out later and watch it later. Okay, so there's that. And then I've got my binder here. This is a new batch. I smudged the label, but it's still not dry. It's never gonna dry. I just made this binder a little bit ago. And I do have a video about how I make my binder. There's a video about that in the Handmade Watercolors playlist. Okay. So normally I wouldn't, normally I want to have one spoon that I'm using for pigment and a different spoon that I'm using for binder so that if I need to get more of either one, I don't have to clean the spoon. But this time I'm going to go ahead and use the same spoon because I don't have any more of this, pigment and I know how much it needs. So buff titanium is a 1-to-1 ratio. So equal parts binder and pigment. Okay, so we're going to do 3 tablespoons also of the binder. So there's 1. And if this spills over, it's going to kind of come towards me a little bit, but that's okay. I'll get it. 2. Oh, there it goes. The third one's going to do it. Okay, last one. There it goes. That's all of that. And, I think there's one more thing I wanted to add to this. Yeah, hold on. Okay. So Core Watercolors has this this synthetic oxgall. They call it Aquazol. And you just add a little bit of this and it increases the flow. I don't like it on every color because it does disrupt granulation. So like on the color Mist, the one I made for last week's video, I added this. And I actually thought I liked it better without the Aquazol, because the granulation you can see in a way that I prefer. So you can tell this one, it like mixes in like so smoothly right away. It's so nice. Yeah, I love making my own paints to use. You're right, it's very rewarding. It takes a lot of time and it's a lot of trial and error because not every color is easy to make. But it's so rewarding when you get a color and because you never know exactly how it's going to turn out, and then it's so much fun to get to use paints that are just a little different from anything else you can buy, you know. Okay, we're going to start with this as our base. Okay, I need it, okay. So these are my 2 primary palette knives that I use when I'm making paint. If I have just these 2, like I can do like pretty much anything with these 2. And then anything that has paint on it, I set on the side that's like having it touching the glass so as to try not to make a mess. All right, we're ready to mull. I'm gonna take my mask off. And handmade paint is just as light fast. It depends on the pigment. So if the pigment is light fast, then the paint is light fast, and it varies from pigment to pigment. Okay, let me bring you guys back up. Oh, that's gonna bother me if it's a little tilted. Even that's better, right? A little bit straighter. Okay? Okay, and then we'll straighten you guys out. Hopefully that all looks good, and we're ready to mull. I'm excited about this. Did George have a question? Yeah, okay. I got that. Good. All right. I'm gonna try to move my computer a little bit closer. Mulling isn't really about pressure, so it's not really about grinding super hard. Like, it's just about moving over the surface. So like people had asked, oh, can I use like a food processor? Because you want that pressure. That's what people are thinking, but it's not really about that. It's more about mixing, a combination of mixing and just a bit of abrasion. So like even this, I'm not really pushing down. Most of the work is just my arm pulling through the paint, like pulling through this liquid. But the work isn't really in pushing down. I'm not really pushing down that much. And sometimes you guys ask to hear paint making. It's really quiet here. I'm not going to talk for a second, so you guys can like hear what it sounds like. It's so quiet, you can't really hear anything. Like sometimes you can hear like the liquid sloshing around a little bit. It's really quiet, but not that much. Somebody asked how long it takes to dry in a half pan. It varies depending on the color. So colors like this that have a lot more pigment in them dry faster because it's almost more like mud. As opposed to colors that have way less pigment and in the same amount of binder, they dry more like honey. So they take, if honey dries, you know what I mean? So it's like a gummier substance that takes longer to dry. But something like this, I always dry my half pans in layers. So I'll put a little bit in, let that dry, and a little bit in and let that dry. And the first layer might dry overnight or in 2 days. And usually, yes, I do, usually when I'm mulling, I do listen to music, or if I have my iPad, I'll watch like a TV show or some YouTube videos or something. Yeah. I'm planning to continue to do monthly live streams. If live streaming paint making is something that you guys enjoy, we can definitely incorporate that into my like usual live stream schedule. I've been wanting to do something like this because it's so much easier to answer your guys' questions like this, because I know paint making can be really tricky. How do I keep this batch wet while the half pan dries? That's a great question. I have these little jars. I think they're technically sold as makeup jars, and I put the paint in here. Now this won't keep it forever. Like if you leave it in here too long and it stays wet, it can mold. And it can dry out too. So what I do is I specifically put this in here to go, I'm gonna fill half pans, or I plan to use it within a week or two. But yeah, for like a week or two, it will keep the paint wet in here just fine. Make paint with a mortar and pestle. The only thing I know about making paint with a mortar and pestle is that it limits batch size and you have less access to the surface area. So you couldn't do a batch this big in a mortar and pestle because it just wouldn't hold it. And you want to be able to make contact with the surface area of all the paint, which is why it being spread out on a flat slab like this is so helpful. You can make smaller batches in a mortar and pestle, especially if you're only making the paint for yourself. There's going to be some scraping noises now, so I hope that that doesn't bother anybody. I'll try to be gentle. Especially, yeah, if you're just making paint for yourself, you can use a mortar and pestle, but being able to do it on a glass slab like this is, in my opinion, the best way. Sorry that this is this is kind of grindy sounding. I haven't made any other kinds of paints like acrylic or oil. It's similar in that, you know, all paints use use pigment. It's the binder that differs. So for watercolors, the binder is gum arabic. For oil paints, the binder's oil. For acrylics, they have like a polymer, like an acrylic binder. I don't know the specific terminology. I did, but I've forgotten it now. I apologize. But yeah, every paint just has a different binder. Watercolors and gouache are similar in that they both use a gum arabic water-soluble binder. If the sound is annoying, let me know. I will adjust the volume. I guess you don't have to use a glass slab. It's the only thing I've seen paint made on. I haven't seen it made on like a marble or anything, because you want this, I've sanded this glass slab, and the bottom of the muller is also slightly abrasive. Like, it's more frosted. Really, my glass slab should be frostier, like the bottom of the muller, instead of just kind of scratched. Like, I need to go over and frost this surface. It would make it better. But I don't know if you can get that slightly abrasive, because you don't want it to be porous. Like, you don't want a surface that the paint can soak into, like a sponge. So glass works well for that. I'm glad the sound isn't annoying. Yeah, you don't have to use honey, and you don't have to use glycerin. I use aqua salt, but you don't have to use that either. Gum arabic is the key. As long as you have gum arabic, that's all you need. So that's a very common way to make like vegan watercolors, is to exclude the honey. The honey and glycerin are really just for re-wettability, and it helps to keep the paint from cracking. This glass slab is just repurposed. We had it already. I'm trying to think of what it was from. It used to have little black feet on it, like it was a tray in something, but I can't remember. It wasn't frosted or anything, but we did sand it. Ooh, sorry, that was a little scrapey. But you could go to a hardware store in the US, like Home Depot or Lowe's, and you could get a glass slab. And then there's a specific, if I can't remember the name of it, but there's a specific like mineral, like a powder you can get, and you basically mull the powder and it frosts the surface of the glass. I can't remember what the name of that is though. Some people say that gouache adds in white chalk, and some people say it's just a higher concentration of pigment. And to be honest, I think it's mostly just a higher concentration of pigment, but I don't know much about how to make gouache. Somebody asks, why do matte colors need more mulling? I think it's a little different than that. Some colors do need more mulling, like reds, like a true red, like a quinacridone red or a pyrrole red. Those reds need a lot more mulling. I don't know why. It just the pigment are naturally a little bit more hydrophobic. They don't want to mix in water. They don't want to dissolve, and they just need more time to disperse. Yeah, silicone carbide. That's it. Thank you. That's the name of the powder that you can mull to frost the surface of the glass. Thank you so much. Yeah, some colors just take more work, and it varies depending on the color. Oh yay, Amanda's making paints. I'm so happy. Like, that's really what I wanted out of this series. Like, it wasn't really about selling watercolors or anything. I just wanted to show you guys that the process is doable, and that it can be enjoyable to do and enjoyable to watch. I am going kind of slow here. Slower than usual because I'm hanging out with you guys, which is fine. But buff titanium is a really quick color. I just did a quick mulling. I'm gonna mull it again because I had seen some clumps. But just as a test, let's do a swatch together so we can see. Do you think a beginner should start off with handmade binder? Zia asks. I think that if you're just getting started, I started with a pre-made binder, and I think that's so much easier because it helps to kind of limit the variables, you know what I mean? So you're not having to figure out everything at once. You can start with a pre-made binder and then figure it out from there. Okay, let's do a quick swatch. I'll zoom you guys in so you can see what the color looks like currently. Okay, so we're zoomed in. Let's do a swatch. I learned how to make watercolors by watching videos on YouTube and trying and failing. There are a few other content creators. Oh, I have like pigment. Here, we're gonna swatch over here. There are a few other people here on YouTube who make paint making content. I learned a lot from them, and I will link them in the description. The color already looks so nice. I love this buff titanium because it's a bit yellow. It's not like just a white. It's a white pigment. It's PW6:1, I think. But it's like a beigey color, so you can use it in limited palettes as a yellow. It's so beautiful. I'll show you mixing this with other colors at the end of this live stream. It's so pretty, you guys. It's so pretty. So yeah, that's the buff titanium. That's how it's looking now. We're gonna mull it a bit more. So fun. Back you guys out again. There we go. Okay. And let's see, is it better brighter or darker? We'll leave it like that and let me know if it's too bright or overexposed. And people ask, Mel asked where I get my pigments. This one is from Earth Pigments. The container looks like this, Earth Pigments. I'll show it a little bit closer just so you guys can see it real quick. So this is from Earth Pigments. It looks like this, buff titanium. We used it all today. We finished it up. But I also get pigments from Kramer Pigments. They have really high quality and a huge variety of pigments. Yeah. Oh, I did see that Paraflora had a new paint making video. I haven't gotten to watch it yet, but I really want to. It looks beautiful. I watched a little bit of it because she got sent pigments from somewhere, right? I think I did watch some of it, but I want to go back. I think I was like watching it while I was doing something, and I'd love to just sit back and watch that and enjoy it. Oh, congratulations, yikes, on starting a paint making business. That's so cool. People love to get handmade watercolors. Like, it's such a cool way to support creators and then have something that you can use and cherish. Oh, that's so special. The price of these pigments, oh geez, it varies so much. Like, some of these, you can get a container this size, some colors for $4, like relatively inexpensively, and some of them, the same thing might be like $20 for this amount. It varies depending on the color or the pigment, because, you know, different pigments, how much it costs to like source them, and all that stuff. It can vary so much. This color is so smooth already. It's amazing. I'm getting a little too close to the top, but... Oh, the stationery store in London. Thank you for clarifying. I couldn't remember. Oh, we caught there. Sometimes if the glass slab, if the muller comes in contact with the glass slab underneath, it like slides a little bit. That's not a fun sound or experience. How are your kids, and where are you going to be selling homemade paint dot sheets? Okay, my kids are doing great. They're 5 and 7 now. They both had birthdays in September. They're amazing. My daughter's 7 and my son is 5. They're doing great. I will be selling the dot cards on my website, just like if you go there to buy a painting or a print or something like that, they'll be on my website. I might show you guys a preview of the dot cards at the end of this live stream if you're interested. It's gonna be a little while. It's gonna be longer than I thought. Not too long, but we have some stuff coming up that I have to prioritize over selling the dot cards. But it's all good stuff. It's exciting stuff, and it gives me more time to make them the best that they can be and get that ready for you guys. So they're coming. If the color's not really becoming lighter, I don't think. Well, I think the pigment might be a little bit darker. Okay, I just dumped more binder in here because it was in the spoon. It might just be the camera that makes it look maybe a little bit lighter. Ah, okay. That's really interesting about those pigments. Oh, thank you for saying happy birthday to my kiddos. The Muller I got from Jackson's Art Supplies. So yeah, you can get this at Jackson's. They sell them in different sizes. This is a larger one, but you can also get a smaller one to make smaller batches. Okay, to be honest, this color is just about done already, guys. It's kind of crazy. Like, it happens so quick. For this color, it's a really, really easy one. And then maybe we can just take some time so I can show you how this color mixes with other colors. I think that would be really fun. If you start off with a red pigment, can you potentially make a pink? If you start off with a red pigment, you're probably going to get red. If you're looking to make a pink, you might be able, like a dusty pastel pink, because if you wanted to do that, you could probably mix some stuff together. I wouldn't, this is a little too yellow to get a clean pink, but you could mix buff titanium with a red pigment to get a dusty pink. Okay, we're gonna scrape this back into the middle, do another swatch, and then I'll test the swatch to see if the pigment is all bound to the binder. And if it is, it's done already. This one goes pretty quickly. I don't know if I'm going to have time to make another color today, only because that would mean I have to clean all of my tools, clean off the slab, you know what I mean? I'm already going to have to put all this paint away. So it's just a lot of in-between work that I can't do in this room. So I would have to like leave the stream and come back, or have you guys just sitting here waiting for 15 or 20 minutes while I go clean everything up. So I think we'll stick to just one color today, but that's okay. I'm so glad you guys like this content. It's really fun for me to switch things up and spend some time making paint. I will say I'm missing painting and recording paintings, even though it hasn't been that long since I did it, but I'm already feeling like I'm missing it. So we'll probably get back to that soon. I want to paint with my handmade watercolors soon. I have a lot of fun with them. Somebody asked if my custom color was my first time mixing two pigments. No. I would say, I think the first time I mixed two pigments was maybe when I was trying to make like a Payne's Gray, which I think I ended up calling that color Midnight. I'll show it to you guys later. It's a beautiful color, but it was such a pain to make the first few times because the ratios for the two pigments that I mixed are so different from each other that it was a headache, and it was just, oh my goodness, it was such a pain. There's a video on that if you'd like to see that painful process. And also I mixed two pigments when I make phthalo turquoise, which is a color I don't know if I will ever make again. It's beautiful. It's one of my favorite colors to use, but making it is so difficult. It takes so long, and the pigment dust gets everywhere. The sun's coming out, so now my camera's overexposing. But the pigment dust on that color, it was getting on shelves and all of my stuff. And right now my studio is in my home, so it's just not safe like to make the phthalo colors right now in my home. If I have my own studio at some point, like a separate building, maybe maybe I'll do that, but we'll see. Someone asked when my next paint making stream is. Probably maybe October or November. We'll see. I'm trying to do a stream every month. So I'm sure we'll have another paint making stream soon. It was pain to make Payne's Gray. Yes. Yes, it was. Let me see if I can adjust the exposure real quick. I feel like if I change it, it's going to be too far. Yeah, I feel like that's too dark. That might be okay. Let's adjust. And then maybe we can bring this up a little. And how about this one? Bring this up a little, maybe. Just a little. And then I'm doing all of this, and then the light's gonna change again, of course. Bring this up, make my color. There we go. That might be okay. Let's say that that's fine. Okay. Alright, we'll say that that looks good. I can't believe. Can you over mull paint? The longer you mull paint, the more the water starts to evaporate. So what happens is the longer you mull it, it gets thicker. I don't know if you can over mull it, because it's not like when you curdle milk or when you overturn butter or something like that, like and it breaks, like it re-breaks. I have never known handmade watercolors to do that in my experience. And I have molded the same color for 5 hours, you know, and I've never had it break in that way. It just dries out. So sometimes you have to add a little bit more distilled water to rehydrate the mixture so you can keep mulling. Okay, let's do another swatch. It's gonna look really similar to the first swatch. Bring you guys in. We can compare some swatches. Right there looks good. Okay, let's check this. It looks maybe a little bit more yellow on the camera than it is in real life. I'm not sure why. It's like slightly oversaturated, very slightly on the camera. One thing I like about this color is it does granulate a bit. So you can see they look really similar, these two swatches. I might even go in and turn the saturation down on the camera because I think it's a little too high. I want you guys to be able to see it accurately. So that's what that looks like. Happy birthday to somebody. Oh, Doodle Your Noodles, a birthday week ago. Happy birthday. My birthday's in September too. So that's how that looks. And then to check and see if the color is done, what I'll do is dry this swatch and then rub it with a paper towel. And if any of the pigment comes off onto the paper towel, it's not done. But I'm pretty positive this is done. So let's check. I'm going to make a little bit of noise. I'm going to use my embossing tool, my heat tool, to dry this swatch. So give me a second. Drying, drying, drying. Okay, so our swatch is dry now. You can see the color, look. Okay, so look, when I move this away, see how this looks more white, like it's bluish? And then when I bring this into the frame, the color correction makes it more yellow. So you can tell that this is definitely not this yellow. Kind of weird. So this is dry now. And, right, like everything looks more yellow. Let's see. And that is clean. So this color's done. See? No pigment on there. Right? Yep, no pigment on there. So this color's done. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move this paint into this jar. Wow, that color correction is so crazy. Like it's sometimes really yellow and then it gets really light. Like the saturation's just changing like crazy. That's actually really crazy. Huh. So weird. Okay, so I'm going to use a smaller palette knife to put this paint into this jar. Let me refocus you guys. Okay. And I'm not going to be very careful when I do this. Like, it's kind of going to get on the sides. It's going to be a little messy. I'm going to put this all in here for now because then... Oh, and somebody asked if this was one of the colors for the dot cards. Yes, it is. This is the second of 3. So Mist is going to be on the dot cards, and this color, and one more color. And I'm going to put this in here, and then I can use like a small pipette to pipe the color onto the dot cards. It's way easier than trying to use a palette knife. So, and cleaner, and I'm able to get more even dot cards, you know, more even dots, like dots that are all the same size. So this is buff titanium. Thank you for answering questions. You guys are amazing. I just wanted to say thank you to you guys as well, because as live streams go, and as far as like chats and live streams, you guys are like the best chat I've ever seen. Like, you guys are so kind and helpful to each other, and you ask the best questions. I appreciate you guys so much. I feel like something like this is nice to have just quiet time sometimes, you know? And we're just scooping this up and dropping it in. And as soon as I'm done with this, we'll use like the remaining color that's still on the slab to do some mixes, and we can look at how the colors interact with one another. So fun. Yeah, you can use a syringe too. That's a really good idea. Anything like that is just going to give you so much more control. I actually have too much paint here. I'm going to check and see if I had started any buff titanium half pans that I can put the rest of this paint into, because I have like so much here. You can see it's making a mess. Yeah, it does look more yellow sometimes, so don't feel bad for thinking it was Naples yellow, because the color correction on my camera, it's making this look way more yellow sometimes. Like right now it looks more accurate, but sometimes it does look super yellow. Okay, that's as much as I'm gonna fill this. I do want to clean off the closure here, because if you don't clean this section and you put the lid on, it'll dry that way, and they're so hard to open. Which I don't say that because I've done it like a billion times or anything. Okay, so I'm gonna close this. See, like right now it looks more yellow than it is. Okay, so there's our full container of buff titanium. This will make quite a few dot cards. I might just get another container, to be honest, to put it in, but let me check and see. No, I have a bunch of full half pans of this already. Shh, it's a secret. But let me just get another jar, and we'll put this in a jar. Okay. I have another jar because I want to be able to make as many dot cards as possible. So we'll focus on saving this paint for dot cards. It'll stay liquidy in the glass jar. I would say you could probably go a week or two. It depends on how humid your climate is, because it will either start to dry or it'll start to mold. It will not keep mold out. And that's the issue with molding in watercolors, has to do with moisture. So if you just let your half pans dry in the air, that half pan, if it stays dry, shouldn't mold. But even like professional watercolors, if your climate is very humid or if your paints stay wet when you close the container or something, they can mold. Mold is all about moisture. So dry paint shouldn't mold. Wet paint is much more likely to mold the longer that it stays wet. Aw, thank you. You guys are so nice. My loneliness is killing me. I'm doing great. There's exciting stuff happening for my family. And I'm enjoying my job. I'm enjoying work. I got to do some little paintings for Patreon yesterday. Things are good. I think it's stressful stuff. There's some stressful things going on, but overall, I'm super grateful for my life. I hope you guys are doing well also. I know it's a hard time, but always little things to be grateful for. Okay. Alright. So, we've got our paint. Do you guys want to see a sneak peek of the dot cards? Yeah, little dried dots of watercolor on a card so that you can have a little bit. You can make homemade watercolor tubes. Like if you put the paint into tubes instead of into jars, or instead of drying them in pens, you can do it. I do not know the process. I know it's really similar, but I have tried handmade watercolors from other people, definitely. I love handmade watercolors. They're so unique. So fun. Okay, let me go get a dot card to show to you guys. Oh, is there hair on the glass? Oh, I see it. Oh my gosh, that would have driven me crazy. Thank you. Okay, hold on. I'll get a dot card. I'll show you. I'll show you. Okay, this is a sneak peek for you guys because this is supposed to be a surprise. And please keep in mind that I won't be able to sell these dot cards for probably a couple of months yet. So it's a little early for me to show this to you, but I'm going to anyway. Okay, so the two colors that you've already seen are Buff Titanium and Mist, which is the color that we made last week. And the third color that I'm hoping, it's a pain to make the third color, to be honest, is Pyro Red. It's the red from making my favorite red video. And this is the trio of colors. I'm so happy with them. This is the trio that I'm hoping to be the first trio to share with you guys. This red takes a long time to make, and it's not very fun to make, but these two colors are easy, so they kind of balance each other out. So this is what I'm planning to do. You can see that the dots are a little bit, they all dry differently. So some are really thick, some are thinner, but it's a decent amount of paint, to be honest. When I do the official launch, I want to paint with this dot card so I can show you how much a dot card can do, because I know that's a big question. Sometimes when you get watercolors, sometimes when you get dot cards, you swatch it and then the dot's gone. I didn't want that. I wanted you guys to have a little bit more. So let me get these three colors and we will test them out, and I'll show you how they mix with one another. So give me just a minute and we'll do some testing. Okay. My paints will ship internationally, so if you've ever ordered from my shop, or if you are able to order from my shop online, then you will be able to buy my paints. Somebody asks why the red is shiny. That's because it uses less pigment. So the Buff Titanium and Mist both have a 1-to-1 ratio of pigment to binder, so equal parts binder and pigment. The red has a 12-to-1 binder to pigment ratio, so it uses a tiny bit of pigment, so the color just stays shinier. It does dry. It does dry completely, but it stays shiny. This is my palette for my handmade watercolors. I'm trying to put this somewhere where I can use it, but I don't want to just stick it in wet paint. So let me zoom you guys out. I wish I could just move the slab. Maybe I'll just scoot the slab back. Hold on. And then I'll talk about why I chose these three specific colors very soon. Scoot, 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 scoot. Okay, I'm gonna move the slab so that we can be in this space together down here. And I will adjust you a little bit. That looks good. It's so yellow on the screen. That's so weird. Let me see if I can adjust the colors and make it less yellow for you guys. Hold on. Let's see. White balance. Can you auto white balance for me? No? Why would I do that in here? Wouldn't I just do that on the camera? Let's see. How do I change this? Thank you for your patience. White balance. Yeah, because this is set to... There we go. Let's try that. And hopefully that will give us more accurate colors. Instead of looking quite so yellow. My goodness, so yellow. Thank you for being so patient. You guys are the best. I can't see the chat right now, so give me just a moment. Okay. I think that's pretty much what we're gonna get for this time around. I'm sorry that it's so yellow. Yes, they will ship internationally. I know, those 90s sitcom warm tones, right? Okay. So warm, and just trust that the actual colors are a little bit different. I wish I could figure out how to change it, but my camera wants me to do it in the software wants me to do it on my camera. Alright, let's zoom you guys in. And we'll talk about mixes, and I'm just gonna accept that the back of my sketchbook is gonna be a great big mess covered in wet paint, okay? And we will come in here and try to get a nice view of the sketchbook and my paint. Let me know if this is too bright or too dark, but right now it should be okay. Okay, so let's look at the three colors from the dot card. So first we have buff titanium, right? Here's our buff titanium. And then the pyrrole red I have in my palette. It's actually, I'm like kind of running out of it. I've used so much of it. I need to refill my palette. And that looks like this. And then our mist color, I have like a little half pan here that I saved for myself. And the sketchbook is just a Canson XL mixed media sketchbook. It's perfect for swatches like this. And mist looks like this. I love this color. It granulates, it's so pretty. So it's a variation. Oh boy, mist looks way more blue on the camera than it does in person. The color's a little bit more green in person. Man, I'm sorry, those colors are so off. But okay, you guys get the kind of the gist of it. I guess it's, yeah, it's just a little, the saturation's kind of off. But these are the three colors. So if we mix together our buff titanium with our pyrrole red, for example, I'm just going to mix some on the slab here. So this would be the closest that this palette would make to an orange, but it actually makes like a dusty, slightly warm pink color, which I love. Again, looks a little orange to you guys. And then if we mix our pyrrole red with our misty color, this would be as close as this palette gets to a purple. I can't actually see what that looks like. Oh yeah, like that. Again, super dusty. Very pretty. And then if we mix mist with buff titanium, I need a little more buff titanium. We get as close as this palette gets to a green. And we'll put that over here, like this. I think these colors don't make super saturated mixes, but they make like beautiful, like dusty. Yes, I do. Ooh, do I use, when you do mid-mulling swatches, do you use distilled water on your brush? No. The water that is in my mason jars here is just tap water. I hadn't even thought about that. It's such a small amount of water that I don't think about it too much. One thing I love about this trio is the granulation from mist affects its mixes. So there's granulation in this green and granulation in this purple, and they're so pretty together. Let's see what kind of neutral color we can mix. So if I take like mist, mix it with buff titanium, and then add some of our red to that mix, we're just gonna play around. So, ooh, that's pretty. Ah, okay. And let's add a little bit more blue to neutralize it. Oh, this is fun. These mixes are still kind of surprising to me. So there it leans a little more green. We can add some more red to bring it down. That's so interesting. Isn't that interesting? I would love to give you guys a specific, like, this is the day that the paints will be available for sale. But it's really tricky right now. I would say, I know this isn't the answer you guys want to hear, but I would say probably by the end of the year, before the end of the year. I just don't want to give you an answer and say something sooner and then they're not ready, because, you know, we've been talking about me selling my handmade watercolors for over a year and a half, and I just don't want to be dishonest with you guys, you know. So we have some big stuff coming up, and I'm gonna keep making paints. I'll keep sharing the process with you guys. It's just gonna take some time. Distilled water helps to keep the paint free from bacteria, and helps to keep it from molding. Not perfect, but it just helps to keep the process a little bit cleaner. So this is the first trio. I'm so excited. I want to see like a mix here between the mist and the red, like something with less red and more blue, you know, because like these colors are all pretty dusty, so like your mixes aren't going to get super dark. Oh, there we go. That's what I wanted, like something a little bit more gray. Yeah, but still stays pretty dusty. This brush is by Paul Rubens. It's their size, I don't remember. It has it's a size 1, like a quill brush, a little quilly brush. So, oops, I just stuck that right in that wet paint. But yeah, I really like this trio. I love the way these colors mix with each other. It's so fun. And I already don't know where I put that dot card. I think, oh, I put it back, okay. But yeah, that's what this color looks like, or what these colors look like. It's super fun. It's a limited palette, but you still have a lot of variety. And I think it's really interesting. How long have we been streaming? Let me check, because I think we're almost done. So if you guys have any more questions, please do let me know. Oh yeah, we've been streaming for an hour. Yeah, so that's good. A good amount of time. Oh, thank you for asking your question again, Flower Child. Are the slightly muted tones on purpose, or is that just how handmade paint usually ends up looking? That's this specific palette. Because this red is a little bit warmer and this blue is warmer, they don't make clean purples. And just the way, it's the nature of these colors. So I have some other colors in this palette even that are cleaner, brighter colors that mix more vibrant shades. It's not exclusive to all handmade watercolors. It's just this particular palette that we're starting with. I'd like to do some cleaner, more primary mixes in the future, but those colors can get harder to make. So my top-down camera has a boom arm that is attached to the wall. If I can remember, I will link it in the description of the video, or you can check out my studio tour video where I showed you guys my entire studio and all of the materials I use, and there's a link to it in that video. A good starter set for paint making. I think if you check out my paint making materials video in the paint making playlist, I made a list of pigments and materials and things that you could do on like a low budget to get started. what the purple color is called. Do you mean the purple color on here? Because this is a mix of them. And then over here, this is a quinacridone violet that I made. This is a handmade quinacridone violet, if that's what you're asking. Thank you guys for asking so many questions. Yeah, and I mean, I do use quill brushes sometimes. The style is different from a calligraphy brush. This is a calligraphy brush, and I use these for watercolors also. They're made for Chinese calligraphy, but you can use them for watercolor painting. They're like some of my favorite to use for watercolors because they're so expressive, and oftentimes, especially springy ones like this, they hold a lot of water while still coming back to a nice fine point. So I love calligraphy brushes for watercolors. I have a bunch of them. How did I end up with a good grasp of color theory? I think just working with limited palettes, like different limited palettes, like saying, what if I use this variation of a yellow or this different type of red, and working with a cooler red or a warmer blue, and mixing those things up and seeing how they interact with one another is so helpful. Limiting your palette. How do I arrange my palette? I usually just go yellows, reds, blues, greens, browns, and then neutrals. In that order, usually. This palette varies a little bit, but that's usually how I go. And then there's some shades in between, like oranges would go up here, bluish green and turquoise colors would go in here, you know, that sort of thing. Yeah, Natural Pigments has a starter set for about $120. So fun. Yeah, that's a good idea. The Fuzzy, you asked if you could reach out and send me free paints. That's so sweet of you. Oh, thank you. I would love to. You can send them to me. I have a P.O. box. You can find it on my website. I am just like kind of swamped right now with things. But if you wanted to send them to me, I would definitely get back to you as soon as I could. Don't go crazy, you know, because I do this for a living, so I have plenty of watercolors. So, you know, don't feel like you have to send me a bunch of stuff. But if you wanted to send me some things to try, I would try them and give you feedback if you'd like. Warm blue versus cool blue. We have a couple minutes, so let's talk a little bit about color theory. Just a little bit. See how I did make a mess out of this? I knew it was going to happen. I love doing this, live streams and just answering questions and talking to you guys. So great. All right, let's do quick, tiny, mini color theory lesson. Quick, tiny, mini. Okay. So, I'm going to try to get, if we do like primary colors, right? So if we did a magenta, like this, and then a cyan, like if people think of what a cyan is, I'm using phthalo turquoise, like this. These are my handmade watercolors. And then a yellow, like this. So this is what, if you think of like a primary triad, right? This is probably something like what you're thinking of. So you're gonna get cleaner greens like this, and you're gonna get cleaner, the orange is a little tricky because of this magenta, but a clean, oop, wrong spot, cleaner orange, and then a purple that looks like, sorry, I put that orange there, that. So these colors are a bit brighter, a bit cleaner. Isn't that interesting to see the difference between those mixes and these mixes over here where the colors are more muted? But yeah, you can, so there's some things like that. When you talk about the difference between a warm blue specifically and a cool blue, a warm blue is going to be closer to yellow, so closer to green. So a warmer blue, this isn't a super perfect example, but this is cobalt teal. And you can see, especially when we put it next to a cooler blue, so something closer, a cooler blue would be closer to purple, like Indanthrone blue, like this. So cooler is closer to purple, warmer is closer to green. So compared to that, you can see now way more clearly that this phthalo turquoise is warmer, closer to green, than the, yeah, you guys can always send me messages on Instagram. That's fine. I don't always get to them like super quickly right away. As time goes on, there's just a lot. There's just a lot of messages, but I will do my best to get back to you. So yeah, this is warmer, closer to green, cooler, and the same thing goes for reds. So that pyrrole red is warmer than this magenta. So you can see that warmer is closer to orange, cooler is closer to purple. Cooler colors. So cooler colors being blues, greens, warmer colors being red, orange, things like that. And then you can see I don't have a true cool yellow, but my nickel titanium yellow is cooler than this primary yellow. Sorry, you can't see that. So a cooler yellow is going to be a little bit closer to green or blue. So we've got warm and cool colors of all of these different shades here. Hopefully you guys can see that. Warm versus cool, and they all mix differently. So two colors that are closer to purple, so this red and this blue, are going to make a cleaner purple than colors that are further away from purple. So like a warmer red and a warmer blue like this are not going to make a clean purple. I hope that makes sense. So, and that's why I want to do limited palette videos, to show you guys the difference between all that stuff. Prussian blue is warm, yes. It's closer to purple, comparatively warm. It's all comparative, you know, compared to other colors. Yeah, a cool blue with a warm orange, yeah, beautiful neutral colors. Yeah, I got cool blues and warm blues mixed up all the time in videos. In videos. Oh, real quick, that somebody said indigo. I wanted to show you the indigo color I was working on. I think I ended up calling it Midnight. It's a mix actually of Indian Throne Blue and PR 101, which is like a Venetian red or an Indian red. This is the color that I ended up with for that. I love this color. It's beautiful. It's not fun to make, but there it is. Love that color. Beautiful. Okay, I should go. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. You guys are great, and I hope I haven't missed any questions. Yeah, pigments are somebody asked about making pigments from things in nature, and that's so common. That's how it was done, you know. Was mineral-based pigments and organic-based pigments is very, very common and goes back a long, long, long time. There are actually paint makers today, like Mary Sanch. If you look, it's S-A-N-C-H-E. She's just started launching her handmade watercolor line, and she's grinding her own pigments from locally sourced rocks and minerals that she's going out, she's getting them herself, she's grinding her own pigments, and she's selling her paints. And she has a YouTube channel. She's amazing. She's so good. So if you guys look up Mary Sanch, M-A-R-Y Sanch, she's so good. Okay, I'm gonna go. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. The color difference is so weird. I look so cool and this looks so warm. I think they're both too much. But okay, have a fantastic day, you guys. I'm so glad that we got to hang out together and make paint. And I will talk to you later. Yes, there is a video on how I made this color. I think it was in the Making Blues video. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Bye, guys. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. 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 Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.